Hey guys, we are so happy that you are here joining us today, and we are really excited to be able to share with you a little bit from our Florida Center's FASD team, our FASD Collective, Shifts That Work, where we talk about survival, success, and everything in between. We are kicking off our conversation right here before the holidays, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to give you some information, maybe a couple of tidbits, maybe some tools that you can use this season that can help make your days a little bit better and a little bit easier with the loved ones that you're supporting. Before we dive into all of that, I just want to take a moment and introduce you to the squares and these amazing people that you're going to see on our team. First, my name is Jen, and I am a team member with our FASD team. I've been here for a few years now, and I am also a mom to a kiddo. I have four, couple different neurodiversities, neurospicy, neuroglittery, sparkly, whatever you want to call it. And we have learned how to holiday a little bit differently. And so I want to just take a second and let you meet the other individuals that are here on my team. Crystal, can you introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah, I will. Hello, my name is Crystal Dateliff. I am the parent advocate and I work in education navigation here at the Florida Center. And I'm also a mom to seven. I have three biological kiddos and I have four adopted. All four of my adopted have FASD. And through working here and just learning about FASD, I've come to realize some things about my own bio kids. Also dealing with some neurodiversity there. And just, we've in like Jen, we've learned to do things a little bit differently. And that includes holidays. And, I'm excited to do this with Jen and to be a part of this. So
Thanks,
that's me.
Crystal. Rosemary, what about you?
Hi, I'm Rosemary. I have two children that are adopted from foster care. They came to me as newborn babies. They're now in their 20s, and yes, we survived all these years despite their FASD diagnoses. Holidays have been challenging for us in the past, but they have greatly improved with me learning tips and tricks that really can make your holidays, regardless of which one you celebrate, much better.
Here, here. All righty. And Pam?
Hi, everybody. We're so glad you're here with us. And I am Pam. I do the intake coordination with Rosemary. We both do that for the FASD team at the Florida Center. And I also have an adopted son, Alex, who is now 21, and he was diagnosed with FAS at 3. And we have a lot of success. He's 21. But it still feels like we're the everything in between part, which isn't exactly true. So I'm just excited to talk about this with all of you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we want to take some of these shifts that we as caregivers have learned to implement within our own homes. And we've heard from other caregivers and just the great community that we've been able to be a part of. And we want to pass along some tips to you for this holiday season. Um, when we talk about it, we really are talking about these shifts that we as caregivers are doing to support the needs of our kiddos, right? Because their brains are the way they are. And so, how do we navigate around that? How do we find ways to make things a little less challenging and do things a little bit differently? Because we truly can have success. We have all been in the days of the hard. We have all been in the days of the chaos, and it is through sharing and learning from each other as part of our reasonings is why we've been able to get to where we're at right now. Now, things are not always roses and sunshine, but they're certainly better than they have been before. Crystal, can you start us off in talking about, our topic that we talk about a lot with that pivot mindset and the thought process of what all goes in with pivoting?
Yeah. So one of the things that I really love about thinking in these terms, thinking about shifting our mindset or being able to pivot is that, you know, any of us watching that are involved in the FASD life in any way, you know that it can be extremely hard sometimes. We love our kiddos, we love our individuals, but it can be hard. And one way I think of it is like sometimes we are dealing with something that's just huge, a huge problem, a huge behavior, and it just seems like a mountain in front of us, you know, and sometimes it can feel like that, you know, we're never going to get past this. We're never going to make things better, that things are always going to be like this. And then learning more, being, you know, connected to other caregivers, being in this community, we just start to see different ways that we can pivot, that we can shift. And maybe there's just a small little adjustment or pivot that we can make, and suddenly this big mountain in front of us is nowhere to be seen. You know, it's not like that for everything, of course. There's no magic bullet that's going to just solve everything, but there are things that we can do to make these huge issues in our lives and in our kiddos' lives easier to deal with, and just make, you know, find more peace in our homes.
I love that. And I think that it goes into talking about, we talk about accommodations a lot for our children. So I think when we think about pivots, we can think about that from the same perspective, right? Of we're making accommodations on how to make our days a little bit easier. Um, Pam, I want to also ask you if you had some great tips and tricks that you wanted to share with the community, what would be, one or two of your big takeaways for things that have helped you be successful in your home with making the holidays a little bit less stressful?
So, um, I think the first tip I would say is say no to things. And we did something really extreme to make that happen. We moved 1,000 miles away from our family. And that really lets you start over and pick and choose. Because I was the parent, I just wanted to do all the things for all the people. And so we went to all of the Christmas shows and, the children's choir singing for my son's school. And then my husband's a teacher, so that choir singing, and then the church choir, and then my dad's church choir. And it's just such a nightmare because I spent those choir performances out in the hall with my son running or outside or even holiday dinners. It was cold where we lived. We were outside in the snow because we couldn't take being around all the family that I was killing myself to be there for. So my first tip would be to say no, to do less. And this really hard and it still really weighs on me to keep saying no. And then I would just take that no theme as far as you can take it. So, with the gifts, like I've always wanted to give my son more, better gifts than I had, nicer gifts, just a little better than what I had when I was a kid. But he has a lot of sensory processing needs, and he actually can hear things that I don't hear, and he feels things I don't feel. So one year we got him a drum, a very expensive snare drum for Christmas. I thought he would love it. He's always banging on things. He's got great rhythm. But no, he tore the drum apart because there was something he could hear that I couldn't, that was driving him crazy. And so now we don't do a lot of expensive gifts. We learned that the hard way after several years and lots of tears on my part. So I would say no to that. I don't put the gifts under the tree, and we wrap them after he goes to bed on Christmas Eve, and they magically appear on Christmas morning. And then the other thing that we are really aware of in Sarasota, we live by the UTC Mall, and it's a Christmas explosion. It's so beautiful with the light show, but there's Christmas everywhere. So I would even say to parents, it doesn't matter what holiday you celebrate, all the stuff is out there. The Hanukkah things are out there. The Kwanzaa things are out there. So it's a sensory overload for my son with, we're driving through the parking lot at the mall and there's this Christmas carol singing on this is playing on this system. And then this group is caroling a different sound, a different song in at the same time. And so just really trying to say no to a lot of things. Just say no. That's my one takeaway.
Say less, Pam. Say less.
Yes.
I think all of us that are busy caregivers can be okay with trying to figure out where we can give ourselves a little bit more time and say no. But that's also saying yes to ourselves, right? That's
Mhm.
giving ourselves and our family that big yes and that big priority. Thank
Yeah,
you, Pam.
some of the best things we've done is like we go out in nature on Christmas Day. So we'll go to a state park and ride bikes or things like that. And yeah, so it isn't really just saying no, but it's saying less or saying yes to different things.
Yeah, I love that. Prioritizing ourselves. What a concept. So, Rosemary, you are somebody that I have learned so much from over the last few years, and I really appreciate the wisdom that you bring. Um, Tell us a little bit about what your big moments of aha or tips can be. What's been working for you?
My daughter is particularly not safety aware. So when you are decorating your house, you need to think about that. Candles, any flames, not a good idea. Now that they have the little battery operated ones, you can still get the effect without the open flame. Hanging hooks on your Christmas tree can also be dangerous because they don't understand that they can poke you or if you step on them. So maybe tying ribbons with your ornaments that way, excuse me, is another safety thing. Minimizing what you put out. This is not the year to put out your most treasured grandma heirlooms, are these years why they're young and impulsive because they often will run by and not recognize that they can knock things over and then you're crushed because you've lost the heirlooms. Satin balls or handmade paper things. The kids really love making paper chains. My kids really enjoyed that. So it was a craft, and then we used those for a couple of years to decorate our tree. Making sure that the where you plug stuff in is still safety because our children, even though they might be 9 and 10, where they would know better, they're not always there socially. So being careful of that. One of the other things is our kids are super sensitive to touch. So being aware that hugs and kisses from great Aunt Louise that they haven't seen for 2 years might set them off. So making sure that the family members know and that your child knows that they are not required to hug and kiss anybody. It's a safety issue overall, 365 days a year, but it's particularly difficult when older generations want those hugs and kisses, and our kids just cannot handle it and can really set them off. Making sure that there's food out before the kids come in to see the Christmas tree, put out a la carte snacks for them and let them eat as needed because building up with opening all their presents, being delayed from getting their breakfast or even their medications can really affect how they're going to behave or be overwhelmed. So make sure the kids can eat throughout the whole day. And that might include bringing your own food for the child when you go visiting and making sure that the folks that you're visiting understand that, your child might not enjoy turkey dinner and would prefer their macaroni and cheese or the things that they're comfortable with sensory wise, because it's making things as easy as possible for the child with FASD definitely makes things easier for us when we have less behaviors and less overwhelm for them to do. And we want them to enjoy their holiday, most importantly, but it has to be done on their terms and not on the expectations of the other folks that you're visiting or are coming to your home. And then last, I would say, yes, you want those family photos, and yes, you want everybody to be in cute matching clothes. How about doing a jammy day for the whole day so the kids are comfortable and take the pictures in matching pajamas versus the velvets and the fancy materials and the ties and the things that our kids can't handle. And if you are able to get them in those clothes, at least to get a couple of photos or let everybody see them cute, bring extra clothes so they can put on their comfy clothes for the rest of the day. So those are some of the things I learned when my kids were little, the hard way also. And I share that information because they're little things that can make a really big difference in how your days of celebration go.
Absolutely. And I think, Rosemary, one of the things that I learned that I was most appreciative from you very early on was um, being okay having fewer decorations, right? So that kind of piggybacks back into what Pam was talking about with that sensory overload and how it can just sometimes be a lot. I love having all of my Christmas decorations up, all the little knickknacks, all the fun little pictures, the throw pillows, the blankets, all of the things, right? And from a sensory perspective, that was a lot. And so we made the decision one year to um, kind of go minimalistic, right? We had the tree, and we have a couple of things that sit out on the mantle, and then we've got the outside decorations, and then that was it. And it was amazing to be able to see the calmness that was able to be in my home at that time. And so I just really appreciate that being one of the things that I've been able to learn through this journey. I'm also going to add too, one of the things that's been successful for our family has been okay with the divide and conquer, right? And sometimes that means we take two vehicles when we're going to a family event, or we have a game plan for my husband and myself when, somebody starts to have a hard time. We're able to recognize it. Oh, let me volunteer to be the one to go pick up the thing that we forgot that, nobody brought the rolls. I got it, right? Volunteering to go do something and then bringing that kiddo who's having a hard time with us so they get a minute to decompress in the car in their comfortable place, or maybe they just need to go, right? But having that game plan just in conversation, even with somebody that can support you, whether that is your spouse, your partner, your best friend, whatever your support system looks like, maybe that can be something that you can kind of have a game plan up and ready for. Um, because I can say, and I think all of the rest of us can say, that we truly have gone from places of surviving the holidays to having some pretty great holidays over the last few years. It's going to ebb and flow. Um, and we do recognize that our kiddos with FASD do come on a spectrum. So maybe what one kiddo can handle, another might not have the ability to handle. And please note, I use the word kiddo because that's the world I work and live in, but we're talking about these kiddos who grow into adults who might also be having a difficult time. Um, so, just finding what works for you. If you've got a great idea, tell us, put it in the comments, and that way we can be able to share these wonderful survival tools of being able to have the shifts, especially during the holidays, so that we can be able to get to these places of success and have less time surviving. I thank you guys so much for joining us today. We're going to have some more of these wonderful tips and tricks and ideas on surviving and getting past survival to thriving and having successes and all of the things in between. And before we go today, I just want to take a second to introduce you guys to my little buddy here. This is Blaze. Blaze has become our mascot over at the Florida Center's FASD program, and we hope that you like him as much as we do because you're probably going to be seeing him around. Blaze might have an idea or a great little tip or trick that he's going to be sharing with you later on, so get to know him. He's a cool little buddy. His brain works different just like ours does. Until next time, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We're the Florida Center's FASD caregiver team.